Hello, thank you for joining me again, and welcome if you're new. I just did that last reading just a few days ago, but so much is happening. I filmed that on the 5th and then I posted it on the 6th. So that's like when I felt like everything exploded. So I was feeling this quickening type of energy in that last reading, and I was certainly going through it myself to the degree that I was at that point. And then right on the 6th, it's like everything just absolutely like up leveled exponentially. I felt like we jumped into this completely different point in the game, like a huge node point. Like we hit a huge node point with that 6-6 portal. My kid's dad, he's a Vedic astrologer. He studies Vedic astrology, and he's been talking about that date for a really long time. And he even said, oh, it could be like riots or like uprising and this type of thing. And on the 3D level, that happening, that uprising and the rioting. But what I'm seeing and what have been feeling within myself is this liberation. And of course, as we trickle out, what's happening in the physical world is a reflection of the unprocessed shadow at this point for humanity. So there's going to be violence and there's going to be fear and there's going to be, all the things. But on the deeper level, there's this huge liberation energy going on. And for me, that went back to galactic roots, and I was talking about that in the last reading. If you haven't seen it, I've been talking about it actually for a little while now, but pretty much since a little bit before November when I started having information coming in around harmonization and completion around the Lion and Orion conflict. Okay, and then it went back further with just recently with the Tiamat, sniffing that out, and now that's unpacked for me, and I was posting a lot, in the comments section in that last video around that, but for me, what it feels like is this, I kind of want to tell this story simply because I feel like a lot of you that connect with me and that connect with these readings or these videos are on a similar soul mission and a similar life path, and that there will be codes in this story for you. Or even for people that are kind of in a different stage of the journey, there will be codes. So yeah, I might just tell this story. I'm kind of just jumping in, just like I did last week, where I was like, wow, there's so much going on. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's going on, but just feeling the urge to show up. And so, okay, so this is the way this unfolded for me. I was seeing in sessions, and I've talked about this before, but I had a couple people ask me, for more information, and I thought, well, maybe I am being guided to say more, to give the whole story, and I feel to. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but here I am talking, and it's coming up, so I'm just gonna go for it and trust. But so it started for me in sessions, and I've mentioned this before, where I kept seeing Lyrans, and usually I'll feel the energetic signature of the different galactic. Little birdie just landed right there, of the different galactic star systems and star seeds and stuff like that. And often it's just a feeling that I recognize. And I've had different unfoldings in my own life, different synchronicities and memories and things come in, and with a lot of them. And so the Lyrans are really the only ones that really show themselves to me, and they show themselves as big cats. So almost every single session that I had, I was seeing a big cat, and I was like, gosh, what is this? And I knew it was Lyran from the energetic signature. What is this? And I kept feeling like there was some kind of message that was coming through, some kind of healing, because it was always, because usually in the sessions, we'll clear and then we'll rebalance the polarities, and then there will be different aspects that will come in. Maybe it's a spirit guide, or maybe it's an ancestor, or maybe, but what I see and feel is representative of what's coming up in the journey, what aspect of that person or archetype of that person or their soul family or guides or whatever that are coming forward to support with the next phase of the journey. So it was like, what's up with the Lyrans? What's up with this? Like, oh my gosh, something was going on. So then for me, what happens is I don't go and dig for stuff, because I'm just not guided to do that. I'm not guided to do that. And I think it's because, the times, so I started coming across, information and really like far out information and galactic stuff and all this stuff like 10 or 11 or 12 years ago. And I would read about it, and it was like all in my head, like I wasn't ready yet for the activation. So I just kind of like let things come in when my soul was ready for it, right? And you're ready for something when you're reading something or you're hearing something, and you feel that quickening inside of you, or that recognition, or you go a little quantum, and all of a sudden you're like, you feel like you're in between timelines, or like it's not like a linear thing, but you feel it, you feel that recognition. And so that's what would happen for me when certain information would come in, or I would like hear a name, or I would have a dream, or and then there'd be another synchronicity with that name, or somebody would send me a video that I'd feel really drawn to listen to, and it would be like having a conversation with my Akashic library, that kind of thing, right? So I let things unpack really, really slowly. I'm a Capricorn, it's like we climb up the mountain one foot at a time. I don't do drugs. I don't do plant medicines. I just climb that gosh darn mountain, and I let it come really, really slowly, but then it's really, really integrated, right? So I feel like what I've been going through this last week is a culmination of like the last 10 years of like just scratching the surface. It's like all the pieces are coming in. So I'd have like a piece of the puzzle, piece of the puzzle, piece of the puzzle, piece of the puzzle, and then there'd be like a picture would form, and you'd be like, aha, okay, I can, we have the tree over here, and then another, you get a couple more pieces, and then so I feel like I got a huge chunk of the puzzle, and then like more pieces started coming in, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's not stopping. It's just like all unpacking. I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. Let me collect myself a minute, because there's just so much going on. I am a little bit of a, what's the word? I was going to say a live wire. It's not that I'm a live wire. It's that I'm just like, I'm like deeply on the pulse of something right now. Yeah. So I'm a little intense. I'm very activated right now. So, yeah, let me just gather myself. So, I can't remember where I was, so I'm just going to jump in, and I'll probably find it. I'm just going to go somewhere else. So anyway, yeah, my story. Okay. So that's how things work for me. So with the Lyrans in the sessions, it was kind of like, okay, I have this little piece, and then I'll just wait, and so then somebody ended up sending me a video about the cats and the dragons, the felines and the dragons, and it was just this real, like, sort of like almost like story, but what it really was the Lyrans and the Orions, and the betrayal of the felines, the Lyrans, by the Orions, where they basically tricked them. And then shortly after that, I started hearing about Thoth's betrayal, which is very similar, where he was, assigned by the Guardians to assist, and he was supposedly, helping with unraveling and preserving and coming back to unity, which we're still in process of doing, and that betrayal. So all, different, and I've been talking about this in the different readings, different versions of an abandonment on the feminine, or abandonment on our inner knowing, or that Christ-seated aspect of ourselves, our DNA, our 12-strand DNA, the hijack and the capping of that, and that which has been separating us from that, and has been over the eons and the ages, including up to this present day, the same exact energy weaving through. And you can feel, once you're like, oh, I have this piece, and I have this piece, and I have this piece, but eventually you're like, it's all the same piece, it's all the same energy, it's all the same hijack, it's all the same game, it's all the same enslavement. It's just because we've been talking about this, when you feel that you're separate from the whole, you have to keep regurgitating your creation. So it's just the next resurrection of the enslavement. Okay. And so then what happened for me in November is I met someone, and I haven't been with anyone in a very long time. I hadn't been with anybody in like 6 years. I met a person that really matched me on all the different levels, and with him I unlocked like my Pleiadian memories and Lemurian memories, and there were a lot of things that came online with him. And it was like after that I remembered, I got the download about the sacred partnership, and within, and balancing the polarities. And so I had been on that journey for like 6 years, and he and I were together for a very brief amount of time, but it catalyzed all this remembrance for me. And so I just wasn't interested in relationship anymore. It was like, I just realized that all of that is, a third dimensional, it's part of the trapping system, it's part of, codependency. And not to say that we don't work things out, We have karmic connections, and we have our soulmate connections. And I had a beautiful soulmate connection that helped me to stabilize after the trauma of my real galactic showdown with my ex-husband, which has been resolved now, but it has been for years. Okay. So Yeah, so all that, but at this point in my journey, I wasn't interested in that anymore. I just wanted my pieces back. So, and I would meet people, and it'd be like, there's no synchronicity, there's no spirit guidance, there's no resonance, there's no soul retrieval going on. So I met someone, he approached me, and I wasn't interested in him as a partner. Like I said, I wasn't interested in partners or relationship or anything like that. I just wasn't at that point in my life. I was trying to become, again, what I had realized around the sacred partnership, the sacred union within. I was focusing on that because I knew anything else was just going to be a reflection of my separation, right? And I wasn't guided towards anybody until this person. And so what happened for me was I found him to be very mundane, very 3D, very boring, very whatever. But he had this energetic signature that hung in his field. And there was something in it. It was galactic, but I couldn't identify what it was. And that was weird for me because even if it's something I haven't recognized before, usually I can access the information or I can learn it just like quickly, just like in a few minutes or in a session or whatever. And with him, I was like, why don't I know what this is? And it's not like an arrogance thing. It's just I have been with myself for a long time. So, it was like what I felt intuitively is there's something in wherever he's from, wherever that energy was that I was picking up, that was a deep trauma for me, that I had some sort of block to it. And so I just, and I think it was just guidance. I just knew that I needed to be around him to get my peace back, to get that peace back. But the thing was, is that he wasn't aware of it. He was completely cut off to that part of himself as well. I think he had the same thing I had, where whatever had gone on there was so bad that, we both kind of just like, blocked it off in a way. And so I was very honest with him, and I told him, just what I had said, like, I'm not looking for a partnership. I'm not open to romance or to whatever. So if that's what you're looking for, then we'll just part ways now. But I do recognize something in your arc field, in your energetic signature, that there's a piece for me that I need to go get. And it might sound like I'm using you, or it might sound like, and I'm just putting all this out there for you to make your decision. I don't know where this goes. I don't know if it becomes intimate or romantic. But if it does, it's about this. It's about, because what I'm about is evolution and holding and soul retrieval at this point. So I was really open with him, and he was okay with it, so we went along with this. And then what was happening for me, it was really weird because there was all this like magnetism and like sexual like chemistry and attraction, even though I really found his personality to be so cringy, and it was just this strange thing. But I felt like I had to go in and do this. And even the first time after we hung out, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just like sobbing. It's like I was having all these releases, and I thought like, well, gosh, I feel so safe with this person, and all these things are happening in relation to him. At the same time, I wasn't sleeping. I was having psychic attack. I was having horrible nightmares that to me felt like memories. And so I don't know why I feel guided to say all this, but I'm just going to go with it. I might not post this. I'm just going to let myself rip, and then I can always just be like, nope, so I'm just going to go for it. But so this isn't for everyone. This isn't for everyone, but I do feel to share this dream. So in this dream, it was a very visceral dream. It almost felt like remote viewing. I was in this bed, in this room, and I was under the covers. And under the covers with me were all kinds of like baby and children body parts, legs and hands and all this. And on top of the bed was this woman. And she was standing on top of the bed, and she was facing me. And it's like I wasn't there. Nobody could see me. I was just like witnessing it. That's where it has that like remote view type of energy. I don't remote view. I'm not. It just reminds me of that. I don't know if I do. Maybe I do. I don't know. But not consciously and not adequately or anything. But anyway, maybe just for my own parts. And so this was after I had been with this man. And so what I saw in the woman on the bed is that there was a part of her that was fractured. It's like she was a part of whatever disgusting thing was going on in this situation, and I just got the download like she had been captured and was being bred for these children, and there were things happening, for feeding quite literally and energetically, with the loosh and the terror and all these horrible things that we hear about. Some of you may not have heard of this before, and that's fine. This video might not be for you, or you might feel that resonance, that thing where it's like you're being guided to learn more about these things. And so what I what I felt very strongly in that dream is that I was her. I was her, and that and she was me, and it was like she was the part of me that was locked away that I couldn't see, and I was the part of her that fractured off. And it was like this parallel where we had to get back together. We had to get back together, and so I didn't but then also what was going on, so there was that dream, there was that memory for me. In the outer world, I had a new Facebook friend, and she was talking about the same thing. She was talking about erotic innocence and sexual slavery, and it's like I could tell from the frequency that she was doing the same thing within herself, and maybe in a different way, maybe not in relation to another person. I don't know how she was doing it, but then I have another friend that soul sister that I work with regularly. We're always paralleling, and so she was coming to me. I think it was around that time that she sent me the video around Thoth and Thoth's betrayal and stealing the divine feminines and separating them from their counterparts, separating from their divine counterparts, and basically tricking them and taking them off to Nibiru for the breeder program. So there's that same thing, that same kind of thing. So these pieces were coming through. The other thing that was coming through for me was what I understand now is the Draco matriarch. So this is really this is really deep, because in those breeder programs where you may have been a breeder and you may have created these hybrid humans between like the angelic human and the Draco or the reptilian, or whatever from the negative alien agenda, or whatever fraction that was. Most of it I learned was coming out of Orion, which was interesting, because when I was I want to remember this point, but when I was with that man, I kept like honing in on Betelgeuse. Like there's something about Betelgeuse, and there's something, and then I realized it was part of the Orion constellation. There's something about Orion, and I'm like, Orion was like the only star system, star location that I hadn't identified the energetic signature of, which is hilarious because my ex was from there. I've realized now, like just this string of people, but I had this fragmented part, so I couldn't see or feel, and it's like that's why I was guided to go in and get her. But so like with him, it's like I felt really safe with him, but at the same time, I felt like I think he's trapped me, or I think he's raped me, or I would have these things and I would bring it up to him, just because for me, it's like, I knew at least that like we all have some of those darker lifetimes in us. But what I realize now, the pieces coming through for me now is like, if we've been a part of those, if we've been breeders, and we've created the hybridized angelic with the negative alien, it's like we now in our future lives are carrying both. We're carrying both of those genetics. So we have the memories of the dark fractions. Even if we didn't necessarily play them out, we have access to that Akash through our genetics, which is now mixed and hybridized. And so we have these because I could never rectify that, where it was like, I had memories of escaping the fall of Atlantis and going underground. I have memories of going down, and I have memories of being a part of it. How is this possible? Well, it's like the genetics are all hybridized and mixed in. That's what feels true to me. This is like a new realization for me just in the last couple of days. And again, that's the piece of the puzzle that I have now. And then as I get more, I might be like, oh, well, that was, like actually now I'm seeing it this way. But that's where I'm at right now in my discovery. Okay, one of the new things. There's a lot of new things for me, and so anyway, so like for him and for I, we have these in our genetics, and wherever he was at in his journey, it's like I was picking up on that, that kind of thing, and in him, in our history. But I was really confused because I was having so much beautiful release, and I would just cry. I would just cry while we were intimate together. I would cry, and oh my God, I would release and release and release, and I didn't know what I was remembering. But the Orion energy was coming in. There were white dragons coming in. There were aviaries. There were all these like snippets of things that I didn't really understand. But I would find myself talking to him telepathically, and I would say to him, "We forgive you. We forgive you," and the you being like the collective, and you can forgive yourself, and you can retrieve that lost part of yourself as we retrieve ours. So it was this huge like collective thing that I was doing, and I didn't understand it, but I was really, really guided. Again, mind you, and I've said this before, the entire time this was happening, I wasn't sleeping. I had psychic attack, and I was having those dreams, like those dream memories. Okay, so the other thing that was coming up was I was noticing myself. So this is where the Draco matriarch energy comes in, which, as I was saying, is in our genetics and therefore in our memories. There was this other timeline that I was connecting to that was also coming through with synchronicities with others. That was about the Draco matriarch, and it was the part of us that just hated the men, and would use them and then kill them, and so I saw that in me too, where it was like, oh my God, there were all these different timelines converging, and the polarities, where you're on one side and then you're on the other side, and then as you go along in history, it flips again, and just seeing it all and having to like embrace it all and pull all my parts back home and forgive them all and forgive everybody involved, so yeah, I know I'm saying a lot at once, but it is a lot at once, and that's the point. It's like, these are parallel timelines. It's all happening right now, and yet we can also track it, in a linear way. And so a lot of this had been unpacking. It all started before I even met this person with the Lyran, seeing the Lyran aspect inside. So now understanding that I was very much a part of the unification and the healing of those timelines and of that fracture and of that soul retrieval. And so what I was talking about in that last reading, I was putting all these pieces together. But I was still kind of confused because I was still sort of like, I found this like sticky energy with this man, and I got to the point where I felt complete. Like when I said to him, telepathically, like, we forgive you and you can forgive yourself, and like bringing it all back into wholeness. It's like all of a sudden, all the energy was gone. I didn't feel any more guidance. It just felt complete. And so I called it off, but there was this weird, like, then I had to process through this weird, like, sexual stickiness. And it's like, well, like the mission is complete. I got my peace back. I'm not interested in this person as a partner. He's not a match to me in terms of multidimensionality and soul mission and stuff like that. We did our piece, but there was this weird stickiness. So then I had to unravel. It was a whole other level of that sexual slavery and the seduction program and the hypnotic, and then learning about all the different things. And so, but I did this reading with this man because I wanted a little bit of clarity. I felt like I had a lot of the picture, but I wasn't sure. And he confirmed for me that because I was like, well, was he a guardian? Was he a protector? Did he help me in those times? And it's like, no, he wasn't like the worst of the worst. My ex was much higher up in the hierarchy and in the darkness. That was more of like a third eye type of hijack. This one was more sacral. It was more sacral. So I've been kind of alluding to these things throughout the last videos, and now I have like the complete story. So again, just feeling guided to share whatever I can get out. I don't even know if I'm making sense because I'm kind of jumping all over the place. In case there's something in this for you. Okay, so anyway, yeah, then unraveling that like sexual stickiness and realizing that whole seduction program and realizing how woven it is to our society and how normalized it is, and all the porn and all the entities that pass between people. And I live in a town where there's a lot of people that kind of like just share around. And like the only reason I was with this man was because he was so much older, and I was like, well, nobody even knows him, he's not part of this like parasite passing crew, and but yeah, just like the unveiling of the distortion of sexual energy and seeing it in myself and seeing my own sloppiness with my sexuality and being woven into this trap of seduction and stickiness. And again, all this stuff in this man is like, he doesn't remember. He doesn't know. A lot of these programs are functioning subconsciously in him, just like they were with me. And we're all doing this behind the scenes work, but a lot of people don't know that they are. They don't know. And I told him, when we finally parted, which wasn't that long ago. I mean, not we parted, we stopped, but he was still kind of trying to weave in with me, and I didn't have like good boundaries because there was a part of me, and this is something that reader confirmed, is that there was a redemption energy in there where, like, when I said to him, you can forgive yourself now, telepathically, it's like there was a redemption on his side as well that was possible, but he didn't choose it because he couldn't see multidimensionally, and he couldn't allow me to lead him and guide him. He could accept what I was doing, but he wasn't all that interested in it. It was just sort of like all he held space, beautiful space for me. But yeah, he didn't let it alchemize him. He would use the alchemy for like 3D things, like bike races and things like that, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, never mind. But there was still a part of me that was like that Mother Mary aspect of me that just wanted to still be able to like allow him to like watch me, say like on Facebook or something, or like desiring for him to see me in town or something, just because I wanted my energy to be of assistance to him. And I realized that and having that open doorway, I was still allowing this entity thing to pass through, and these darker elements. And I had to really clear up. In fact, after that reading, I had shared that reading with a couple dear like soul sisters of mine, and the entity that works through him was jumping through the reading onto them. And so we had to really like crack down. And so that's what was going on for me since that last reading, and a real collaboration, and knowing that all these people were involved, and that really being validated in that reading as well, which was of course before this happened, but he was saying, just that there's a whole crew of us, and I was like special ops, which is what I felt, going in. It's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I just know to do this. I'm getting my piece. But what I didn't realize is it was part of a collective movement of a lot of us getting our pieces back, getting that piece back, getting our my ears ringing, getting our galactic memories back, even if they're not memories for every single individual. They're coming back because some of us are getting the memories back and getting those pieces of ourselves back, okay, and being just talked for 25 minutes, being part of this huge thing that's going on, okay? So we can look at the outer world and be like, oh my gosh, this or this or this or this, but all the things that are going on in the outer world, both in our individual lives and on the world scale, are a reflection of this reparation that's happening right now, and a mirror of that drama, the galactic drama, which was the greatest fracture in all of us. We can look at it and it's, most like, evolved, like, what's the word? You know what I mean? You probably know what I mean. Okay. This version way over here, which is just like a fraction, and be like, oh my God, look at what's going on. And it's like, but without, maybe this is why I'm feeling guided to say this, without the information of like the major trauma of what happened to all of us, even if we don't remember, we were somehow a part of it or have the genetic coding. It's buried in our memories. So for a while I was talking about the fall of Atlantis and the cataclysm, and how we're coming up in the rise in consciousness at the point of the fall, and so it's triggering those memories. Now I feel a lot of us are the galactic memories are being triggered. So in that last reading I was talking about, remember the Ten of Swords came up if you watched it. And I was talking about, like, at that point, I was like, oh, like my daughter and I, with her leaving, and we had this huge, like, of all the trauma and the grief we've had around separation throughout the lifetimes, and going back to the mother wound and all this. But it was like fairly easy, But then in that card, I felt like, well, but there might be some real gut punches in this where you feel like you're back in that trauma, and just to remember that it is about a clearing. So that happened to me. Like, that reading really, really helped me, because I could feel like all this information coming in, and I was cleaning up even more boundaries. Like, I've been cleaning up these boundaries and I've talked about this since the eclipse. A lot of us started seeing how we were leaking energy and being like, whoa, I can't do that anymore, and then you take one step and then you see, oh gosh, I got to clean up this too, and this too. So that's what I saw. It's like I had to like block off my energy completely to this person, nothing personal about him, but just because of the entity, the beings that work through those with that type of history that haven't resolved it yet. It's like they just subconsciously channel it through and they don't even know it. For me, it was okay because my soul guided me in a way to work it for soul healing and soul retrieval for myself and for the collective and for those in my soul monad. But and then having support for that, like when him jumping, that entity jumping between the friends, it's like that was meant to happen, because then we all helped each other to seal off and to remember. And it's just this beautiful unraveling, this beautiful symphony, because this is the time. So again, that node point energy, something about the 6-6. Sixes for me are about grounding more of ourselves, receiving more of ourselves. I don't know how it became that for me. Somewhere along the way it did. Receiving more of ourselves and anchoring it down on the ground, but filling that cup with more. And so there's this huge soul retrieval going on right now on the galactic level. And so Laura Hazel talking about the Draco matriarch, which I realized was one of those timelines I had seen in that time, and the lower Orion group, which was the other timeline I had, one of the other timelines I had seen, leaving the planet. Well, why are they leaving? Because time is up. The frequency of this planet is raising to the point where they can no longer get away with this type of enslavement anymore. And enough people are waking up, and those of us that are doing these like kind of special ops things, either with the entities and the people from our past, or within ourselves, or however we're doing it. And I've been talking about this, but now I have more to the picture. And just explaining it for those of you that have been listening as I like vaguely kind of tiptoe around it, because I only had snippets, right? Okay, so this changing, being a part of the change and also being a reflection of the change. It's like the chicken and the egg. It's all, it's all mirrors. And so what happened for me was I could feel myself being liberated. I could feel my parts coming back. I was sealing off even more. I was calling things back for myself and for all of us, and working with these other, these other women. And then I just like I went into this total PTSD mode where I was like, because you know what it is, it's like in my marriage or in all these different timelines, in those timelines, we weren't getting out. That was just, we signed up for that, because remember, everything is a soul contract. There are no victims here, and there are no accidents. It's like we went in, those of us doing special ops, we went in to experience that so that we could unravel it now, so it's all part of your soul mission. And same thing in the 3D realm now. Anybody who's suffering from any of the weird shit that's going on in this timeline, in this epoch or whatever, is part of their soul contract as well. So oh my gosh, and oh no, and the breaking apart is like, we've been doing this for eons. You just don't remember. People don't remember, but we've all signed up to take hits. We've all signed up to be sacrificed in one way or another for the highest good of all. We just don't remember. We don't have those memories. And why? Because we've been kept and we've been enslaved. And so I could feel, so all those times, back then, there was no chance of getting out. We knew that. We knew that we were going in and we were going down. We were going in and we were going down, maybe over and over and over and over and over and over again. So now we're at this, and then for me in my life in this time, it came through as PTSD around my ex-husband. And anytime I was a little too free or a little too embodied or whatever, he would have to control and cage me in. And sometimes if I fought it to the degree that I would fracture, and I would fracture all over again and over again and over again. And of course, that's an echo of what I had experienced before with him before, and but so I bumped up against that, where I felt that freedom, and I felt that harmonization, and I felt that paralyzing, where it's like, I'm not allowed to be free. I'm not allowed to be free. And then I remembered that video, because I was talking with a friend, and she asked how I was, and I was like, I am so triggered right now. And then I was like, but, and I recalled because we were texting, and I recalled the video, and I made myself feel better. So, it's like sometimes, it's like the premonition, seeing what's coming, and then you have that. That often happens for me, these readings. They might just be just for me, but it does seem like other people relate and parallel and get codes off them and remember things. So I share them, but wow, they really help me, because it's like, conversation with my higher self, like, hey, heads up, remember when you go through this. And so yeah, and like as soon as I remember that, and she was like, I am God, I am sovereign, I am free. She said it, and another sister had been saying that just like the day before, right? Just like claiming that, remembering that this time it's different. This time it's different. So that's the threshold that we're on right now, where we're breaking through into freedom. But there are certain memories coming up because of the emotions and the energies and the things that are clearing on a cellular level that can trigger us and really scare us. But just that reminder that this is the time. This is the time in human evolution, and all the prophecies and the solar game that we're in, and where we're at in the photon belt, and all the things that we're breaking through. So point being, we've had this huge galactic harmonization, enough of us, many of us. It was crazy how many synchronicities were with Tiamat when I was honing in on that, right? And same thing with the Lyran and the Orion. It's like it comes in, and just like paying attention to when something comes in and you just hear a word. And I was talking about this last time. You hear a word, or you watch a video, and there's just something in you that recognizes it, knowing, I've talked about this in other videos as well, knowing that's your recognition and a code activating, and things coming online, and things coming back into your memory. And it doesn't have to be a linear knowing where you have it all figured out. Eventually you probably will, but it starts with just a recognition, and that's enough, because that's you unraveling the program that you've been held in. And so anyway, it feels like there's really, 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 really huge, big moves happening right now. I know I just talked for a really long time, but I am going to pull a couple cards. So there we go. Pig spirit, use your mind wisely. Exactly, because it's like I was saying, did I say this? I had to start this video over a couple times, because I felt so like, I couldn't like, I couldn't focus. But and one of the ones that I had to restart, I was talking about how I was talking to the woman at the co-op, yeah, and she was saying about how a lot of people are in grief and feeling unsafe, and I was saying like, well, it's like two sides of the same coin, because over here we're seeing the physical result of what's going on here, which is a really positive thing, and like having that choice of which one you look at. Do you view it as like, oh no, I'm being under attack, or do you view it as, oh, this is an opportunity to activate and to remember, and what can I pull from my akashic reservoir, or from my trapped emotions, or from my thoughts that are coming up. What can I learn about myself? And so using your mind wisely and just staying out of victim and staying out of pity for other people, because again, it's all part of our soul contracts, and our oversouls know exactly what they're doing, and all of this is written. And so just remembering, paying attention to your mind, because I feel like whenever there's a lot of intensity in the collective, and there's a lot of like, and a lot of that like denser sort of like unprocessed shadows spinning around, we can get thrown off too. The way showers, really, those of us that are on the edges here, we can get thrown off too. Or if you're listening and you don't identify yourself as that, but you do resonate with these readings, just being aware of your mind, and choosing that bigger picture. I don't even know if I'm going to post this, but I'm going to keep going. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is 4 and 7, 11. So there's that portal energy again. I've been seeing 12, 12 a lot. I've been seeing that a lot. I was seeing 11, 11. And then it turned into 12, 12, which for me is that Christ consciousness, the 12s being that Christ consciousness, which is what I feel we're getting back, our 12th strand DNA, our 12th dimensional access, our 12th dimensional Stargate, however you want to say it. Again, these are just codes and words, and I don't have it all unpacked, but there's something to it. And I was kind of amazed at the intuition. Like, you might find like you have something come in, you don't know anything about it, but you just kind of follow the yellow brick road, and then in the end, you end up, like, I've been reading the Ascension Glossary, like I came upon it like I was saying, like 10, 11, 12 years ago, and I couldn't take it in, because it was just too much, it was too overwhelming, and now I can read it just like I'm like, just like having a conversation with my history, where it's like, oh my gosh, and it's all unpacking, but I'm seeing how much I knew just intuitively, and even like I've been doing fascia work. I talked about that in another reading with someone, and when we're in there, it's like we get in this quantum space and we see the same things, and we decode and we unpack, and it's just like our intuition is, our higher selves, and our intuition is constantly trying to give us clues and guide us, and it's just that reminder to really trust yourself, because it was such a reminder to me to trust myself even more, because I was like, damn, I was like spot on with this stuff. Like, how did I know that? We just have gnosis. We just know, and to trust that, and to lean into that, and to also be patient with the unpacking. And it's like, you don't have to you'll have the whole picture when it's time, and you might not ever have to have the whole picture, whatever, just enough of a picture that you can be like, oh, I can put this together, or I understand now, and then of course there's more, and there's more, and there's more, and it's part of evolution as well. But anyway, and that's part of using your mind wisely as well, like not having to like dig and chase and be like frantic and like, I gotta figure this out. Like, it's like everything else, it's coming to you exactly when and how and as you need it, at the speed of which you can integrate. So there's that like Capricorn plodding away thing, it's like if you get too much, then it's like a lot of it gets lost, because like, and it just burns out your circuitry. But to go slow, and to allow it to come when it's ready, and then it's really integrated, and it's activating your codes, and it's clearing you, and it's aligning you, and then it can really be an integrated process, rather than just gathering information externally, where you're collecting things, but you might not necessarily have the discernment to feel what's relevant for you in that moment, or what might have a little bit of distortion in it, because it's like to be in that mindset. It's kind of that old energy of that left brain, where you want to be in control, and you want to figure it out, but just that surrender into trusting as everything. And thank you for listening to my story. I really talked a very long time on my story, so I hope that was helpful to some people, because it just seems like so random that I did that, and I feel kind of embarrassed that I might not share this, but I'm gonna go back and listen. But yeah, again, just that And maybe that's why, so why I shared. So in this moment, I could say, listen to yourself and trust yourself, because in that whole journey that I started, I had no idea what was going on, but I just listened and kept going. And then, and then being shown things bit by bit as I could handle, and having that level of integration where you can stabilize and integrate and get those pieces back and do the clearing in a way that's not going to overwhelm you, but using your mind wisely in that way, in those ways to honor your own journey and your own unfolding, your own flowering and embodiment, and your own path, and trusting how it comes in. And being patient, yeah. Because anytime we're not patient, it's like an indicator that we're not trusting and that we're trying to control. And that's when we fall into that old energy. That's when we fall into those old programs, and that's when we feed them. We want to stop feeding them so that they can leave. And they are leaving, because a lot of us are stopping to feed them, but the more people that can withdraw from that frequency, it's a frequency, and that's what I was saying. No matter where you see it throughout history or in your personal history, in this life even, you can detect the same frequency. So when you are feeding it or focusing it or being a victim of it, you're in that frequency as well. You want to jump out. In this card, he has wings. Pigs can fly. Pigs can. It's like that. Wow, pigs can fly. It's like, well, you didn't know because you were using your mind in a way, not in a blaming way. You didn't know. It's just how it's coming out. But if we use our minds in a way that aligns with the program of lack and limitation, then we're not going to discover the wings that we have to create, and using our minds in a way that creates and liberates us. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm just going to do a couple cards, because this is already very, very quite long. So what else wants to be said? Kind of in conclusion to that big sharing Page of Earth. Yeah, I do feel that we're on a very, very new path. So we got the Page of Cups, then we got the Page of Wands. Now we have the Page of Earth in this third reading in this recent weeks. And so the Page of Earth, the Earth being boots on the ground. It's like it was in the psychic space, then it was in this sort of activation space. Now we're grounding it and we're anchoring it and we're walking it forward. So that's definitely what it feels like to me as well, where it's like, okay, all that happened, all that activation energy. Remember, we had the three fires. We had the Page of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and then we had I forget what else, some other kind of wand. But yeah, and so we had that activation, and now it feels like there's kind of like an anchoring and a settling. But it's strange, because so much has been brought back online and cleared and rearranged and rearranging, and then of course the energy in the collective. So there's just like all this stuff swirling around. So just really a time to be careful and to have that self-care and to just take it easy, because this is brand new. Okay, so that's definitely what I'm feeling here with this energy, and what I've been feeling today, where it's like, okay, we're kind of in a new spot. That was a lot. That was a huge portal. Where are we at now? It's a little bit overwhelming. So, all right, the Queen of Cups. And that is that surrender, just like surrendering and taking it slow and doing what you need to do. And if you feel really weird, or you feel really spacey, or you feel like you tried to do something and you couldn't, just surrendering to all of it, allowing this process, and being really, really gentle with ourselves. That's what this is feeling like, being gentle with yourself and not judging yourself or anyone else. Like, let's just like walk through this terrain as if there were landmines. That's not the right analogy, because it's not that there are, but we are sort of the landmines, our past, our triggers. It's like we're walking out. We absolutely are. We are walking into this freedom, but we have to tread lightly. We have to tread lightly and be gentle with ourselves, and also listen. Listen for the guidance. Listen for the guidance, and do as you're told, as you're guided. Again, trusting that intuition, because there are more pieces of the puzzle coming that are going to unpack later. It's just going to keep going, paying attention, acceptance. Okay, and just accepting everything as it is. And that's a number 4 right there. So 4s are always about safety and stability for me, and just knowing that you're safe. And that's what that woman at the co-op was saying, that a lot of people aren't feeling safe right now. And she was talking about, maybe like, families that thought they were going to be deported, or maybe people near the riots that that are feeling unsafe, or whatever, and on this level. But even for me, I was feeling unsafe because I was clearing and reholing parts of my galactic history where I was absolutely not safe, like lifetime after lifetime, and a lot of us having that. And so we're really deep right now. We're going really, really deep. And even if we don't know it, like that woman at the co-op, she could hear me, she could hear me. And it was kind of like that when I was speaking, and I was speaking a little coded, because that's just kind of how I speak. And I could see her, I could see it in her eyes that she was kind of like, oh, and I could feel her body, settle. And then she honed in on, like, the how did she say it? It's like we brought it back to, like, the true safety that we're finding is through our divinity, and sometimes we need to have our safety shaken up in the outer world to find that, to connect with the higher, the higher safety. So we were talking about this a few readings ago as well, with the ruby and the root chakra and all of that. And so now we're really, really in that, and even these darker kind of red root chakra stuff, that safety stuff being up for people, not only because what's going on in your life, like a friend of mine is moving, and so that kicks up stuff where you're like, oh, my nest, or whatever it is, right? But it's, or me with, like, the sort of PTSD with my ex in this lifetime, but it's going back really, really, really far. It's going back really far, but it is actually about a liberation. So just accepting whatever you're feeling right now, because there's a lot getting kicked up and a lot being released. And again, that reminder from last time, just that you are safe, and this is about a clearing, and it is about a homing and a holding, and it's a little bit gnarly right now. So, okay, I'm going to do one last card here, and then I'm going to go and listen and see if I can share this tomorrow. Okay, there's 3 cards. The High Priestess, the Nine of Wands, yeah, and the Prince of Cups. Okay, so the Prince of Cups is the Knight of Cups. And so to me, this is coming through as an energy of, like, hold the line, and love yourself. Like, keep going, keep breathing, and take care of yourself. This can be a self-love card. Take care of yourself, and very similar to this, very similar to this kind of energy, what was coming through. Just surrender, accept whatever is, know that this is kind of a delicate, tentative time. Be careful with your mind, And again, I think I was sharing just to illuminate the depth of what is going on like the on some of the far back levels. There's probably farther back levels that that haven't been illuminated to me, but just like a lot of the things that are resolving right now. Okay, it's a really intense time. Some part of us knows that, the High Priestess, there is that part of you that still holds those records, that understands, that knows it all, but the human might not. And so just persevering, this is a card of perseverance, and just keep going, because it's like the light at the end of the tunnel. The nines are, it's like you're almost there, you're almost there, and just keep going and keep loving yourself, and just keep doing the best that you can. I'm liking this message. I'm going to pull it a little bit more, because this is just so beautiful. And I also love the way there's so much blue. There's like these blue, and there's this blue, and there's this blue, a lot with just this, like, calming, soothing, like, that feminine, that self-love, that intuition, that higher knowing. It's like this whole reading feels like it's like wrapped in the arms of the mother, and asking to come through with self-love, but also that for humanity as well, just like holding all the world in this higher vision as we have to persevere through. This can be like you're coming out the tunnel, but you're still in the tunnel. You're still in the tunnel, and your wings are like barely dried yet from your chrysalis. And, like, gosh, if something comes along, you're not even be able to get any lift off, and you have all these sort of, like, terrors in your mind, because they're swarming in the collective, again, from what's going on in this realm, but mostly from the subconscious of these things that are being released. This unification, like me, a lot of us with those lost parts that were encaged or caged or held or trapped, trapped, and then had to fragment off, and return, and that calling back our lost pieces, and the lost pieces in our soul monad and our collective that we're working with, and that homecoming that's going on. But there's a lot of really, really intense memories and things. You might be having nightmares, you might be having impressions coming through that you don't understand. So again, being really gentle with yourself. But that blue and that holding of the mother, that divine feminine energy, which is what's returning, is what's returning. And there's been a lot of violence towards her, and there's a lot of violence now, and the violence is happening now. If it's triggering you, it's triggering those memories as well. And they're meant to, because this is what we're clearing. We're clearing those Akashic memories, whether we're aware of it or not. And okay, so I'm going to do a goddess. Speaking of the goddess energy, do a goddess. Oh my God. Oh, wow. So more blue, and that is assurance, and it's a number 10 card. So that morning that I was really triggered, and before I got my shit together, I pulled some cards, and I got this card, and it was along with, I forget the other one, but I just like wept and wept and wept because I felt my guides so close, where they were just like, you're okay, you know, you're not going backwards, you're not going to go back into hell realm with your ex, and then it's not going to start back up. Like, I literally felt that. I was like terrorized, where I was like, oh my God, I've come so far, and like my daughter's living with me, and we're all on good terms, and it's been like years, and like I just like had this terror, and I got this card, and this was days ago, so it's not like it just like fell out on top. We're getting this message collectively too. And the 10, remember the 9, almost there in the 10. It's like, this is about completion, you know. And look, the divine feminine, there she is again, the priestess, that high priestess energy. She knows, and this is your soul, your higher self telling you, telling all of us, our oversouls telling us that they remember. We might not remember, but they remember, and we are safe, and the completion and the harmonization is assured. So as we pass through this sort of you know, maybe trying time where we have to just keep breathing and stepping, that it's absolutely okay. I love all these blues. I'll take a photo of this and show them so you can admire that as well if you want to. I'm gonna do one last card and complete this row. And yeah, it seems like these usually end up being about 50 minutes. Patience, yeah, exactly. And so, but also there's those crystals, and the crystals holding the memory all this time, and seeing the rainbow in the crystal, and representing the harmonization of all those records and all those memories coming back online, and just being patient and self-loving with yourself and others as this harmonization process continues within yourself and within our world, and within the galaxy as well. And so again, using your mind wisely, and not falling into that you know, that fear and all that, because then we end up feeding the very system, and then it just takes longer. You know, the more of us that can really be in this higher assurance and maneuvering from that way, the faster we'll go. But you know, obviously it's a process, and there are those pyramids and those ley lines as well, an indicator of that are also getting memories back and coming online, which are also going to make things go faster and remember. But it is coming out as a patience card. You know, there's a lot of indication of a quickening and of things happening. So in a sense, patience is like, it's patience, but it's also like a reassurance that things are happening. You know, it's kind of a paradox in that way. It's like things are happening at a speed and on levels faster now than ever before. So it's almost like the patience paying off, the patience coming through, but also being patient with ourselves, because this is kind of an intense time. So, okay, I think I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much for hearing my story. If I did post this, and if you got through that part, and please let me know if it was helpful for you in any way, if there was any kind of coding going on for you. I love hearing about the people that are resonating with that galactic aspect, because I know that you're soul family, and I know that I've known you before in that case, and I know that we're working on this together. And there's so many people, especially on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube and you want to connect on Facebook, my name is Wendy Biondo, Biondo. But just the amazing group of people that I'm meeting on there. And you know, a while ago, it's like I felt all alone. I had somebody write in and just be like, gosh, I felt all alone, you know, and that's how I was feeling years ago. And then I started meeting people, and feeling like, oh my gosh, you understand me, and like you're having the same experiences I'm having. And I think shortly after that I started doing these videos because it's like I felt like I can speak and I can be heard, and and just like joining in consciousness, and joining in sharing, and hearing each other and holding space for each other, even if it's just observing each other's posts, like observing the photos of your town, or the photos of your favorite nature spots, or like the poem you wrote, or the song you did, or the video, or the sharing, or whatever it is, or just seeing comments, and just kind of getting to know each other's transmissions and energetic signatures. It's soul family coming together. And as we come together, it's like as we like this, as we come together, we get stronger, and we get more of our pieces back, and sharing our stories, and hearing each other's stories, and having our own memories and our own codes coming online in relation to each other, because we're down here together, as a pod, working on a similar mission. And so I'm so appreciative to those of you that have reached out and expressed and shared. And I do a lot of sharing on here, and I have Gemini and Gemini moon and Mars in my first house, so it's like you get to know everything about me. You get to know how I feel and what I'm passionate about, and blah blah blah. And like I do make friends pretty easily because I don't have like a filter, or like it's like what you see is what you get, like what you see is who I am, and so that makes life kind of fun for me. But at the same time, I can feel really kind of vulnerable and just like, what am I doing? But I can't stop myself, because obviously our astrologies are it's our mission woven in, so that we do what we're here to do. So anyway, I appreciate you, and even if you don't share, I still feel the consciousness of people receiving and relating. And okay, so I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna stop. And so thank you, and much love to you. And yeah, let's just keep hanging in there, and keep breathing, and keep remembering and knowing, because these are threshold energies, and we are coming through, and we're bringing our pieces back, not only our own fragmented pieces, but our soul family as well, and the consciousness, the unity consciousness. It's all coming back. It's the law of one, to that remembrance, to our access to all of us, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, and she says so. Okay, all right. I'll see you next time if I do. Much love.